Okay. Where? How far away?
Well, we are two-thirds of the way through this Day holiday weekend, and it looks like we are saving the best weather day for the last day, such as it has been, as it's been pretty miserable in some places, at least early on. But we are going to see improvement. We've got heavy rain and severe weather going on, including for me here in North Georgia. So we're going to talk about that and take a look at the upcoming week ahead and then maybe do a little bit of long range. That is all front and center tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast in a number of ways. You can hit the tip jar, or if you shop on Amazon, use our referral link that's pinned to the top of the chat board and is also on the descriptors of this podcast. Just go in on that through that link, search and shop, and Amazon will throw us back a little bit of coin for sending you there. You doesn't cost you a dime extra out of your own pocket, and it's an easy, simple way to keep the live version of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast free from commercial interruption, and that we are. So here we are. By the way, we've neglected to mention Thursday that a number of places, including New York City, by the way, set all-time record low high temperatures on Thursday, I believe it was Thursday, Wednesday, and Thursday, or just Thursday. But I think the record for Thursday was something like 130 years on the books.
Well, you mentioned about the fact at the start of the show that tomorrow will be probably the nicest day out of the representatives for the Memorial Day weekend, but nice is only relative.
Well, yes, and I made that clear.
I don't think really that if you're thinking about going out to the beach, let's say tomorrow. Well, I'll tell you what. No, it's not really going to be a beach day.
Look, if you like to go on the beach and it's a cool day, with cool temperatures and a sea breeze, probably not out of the 60s, and sunshine mixed with a few clouds, okay, if that's your thing. I wouldn't recommend, even if it was a 90-degree day, I wouldn't recommend going to the beach to go into the ocean.
Well, I'll tell you what. Tomorrow we'll probably start out with lots of sunshine. You go outside. Hey, it's a great. Finally, we got it. But by midday and especially the afternoon, watch as the clouds once again build up.
Yeah.
And if you live not along the shorelines, not in Long Island or the Jersey Shore, but if you live north and west, let's say north and west of the I-84 corridor, do not be surprised if there might be even a brief passing shower or sprinkle moving through during the
Right.
latter part of the day tomorrow. And temperature wise, Joe, it should be now at this time of the year, we're talking about high temperatures of around 75. And while I would not discount, let's say, in the lower Hudson Valley, an urban locality like Mount Vernon or maybe Yonkers, briefly touching 70 or flirting with 70, I think across much of the Hudson Valley tomorrow, it's going to be only in the mid and upper 60s, which is about 4 to 8 degrees cooler than where it should be for this time of the year.
Yeah, this has been really an exceptional shot of chilly air with the setup that happened. A lot of spots in New England, by the way, also set record low high temperatures. They had snow up in Mount Washington and in some places, maybe even some of the lower elevations up in northern New England saw some snow. So it was a pretty interesting situation to say the least. But yeah, you should be up at 75. It's funny today because it got, here in North Georgia, every once in a while the sun would poke through, but it was a mostly, it was pretty much a cloudy day. We had some showery rains around overnight and had a few of them this morning. And just a heads up to everybody because there are some severe thunderstorms to my west. If they hold together and come through here, there's always the possibility that I could lose power. I'm not expecting it to happen, but you never know. So if we just disappear off the air, that's the reason why. The other thing I want to mention is that Tuesday, we'll be here tomorrow night, and we'll be here Wednesday night and Thursday, but we will not be here on Tuesday. I have a family thing I got to take care of Tuesday afternoon and evening, so I shall not be available. So there will not be a Joe and Joe Show podcast Tuesday. Okay, but we're here tonight and we're here tomorrow. And the other thing I would just mention, Joe, that tomorrow is Memorial Day. Of course, those of you who watch the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast and are regulars on the chat board know that we do not use the phrase Happy Memorial Day. Okay. It is a somber day. It is a day of remembrance for those who have given up their lives for us, and for this great nation. And if, you know, people will be doing all sorts of things tomorrow, whatever it happens to be, and enjoying themselves. Just, please take a moment or two to just kind of remember what the day means, and um, you know, just do something, little moment of silence, perhaps, in honor of those who fought to serve this country. And that's about as political as I'm going to get tonight.
Very good.
Okay.
Yes. Nothing, nothing more to add to that. Yes.
Yes. So, anyway, would you mind terribly if you do local radars tonight? You can do some of the radars down here because there's a couple of counties to my west had like 3 tornado warnings up a little while ago. That would be wonderful.
I just want to answer. William Jersey Shore had said on the chat board that it's never, and I guess he was making reference to the fact that uh, this weekend has been unseasonably chilly or unseasonably cool, and he made the comment. He says it's never been this cold or this chilly before, and I must point out to him, and I guess he does not remember that back in 2020, Memorial Day weekend of 2020, we had here in the immediate tri-state area low clouds, intermittent light rain, mist, drizzle, along with unseasonably damp and chilly temperatures that were in the 40s and the 50s. As I know this has not been the greatest weather pattern this weekend, but if you think this was bad, just think back 5 years ago to 2020, where we had clouds, we had rain, we had mist, we had drizzle, we had fog, and temperatures were struggling just to get out of the 40s and 50s. And so this has not been a great weekend so far, but we have had situations where it's been quite a bit worse than what we have been going through so far this particular. And again, it'll be a bit better tomorrow. Not
And if
great.
it doesn't fall on the Memorial, just it happened that fell on a holiday. All of this fell going into a holiday weekend. It's spring. It's the Northeast. It's
Right.
the northern mid Atlantic. This happens every single year at some point, or maybe multiple times, in the months of April, May, and even through much of June. We've gotten into situations like this. So there's nothing new here. Okay, never use the word never in weather, because there's almost a 100% probability that whatever you're saying never has happened. And you know
Yes.
what? Will happen again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
it, it, it only takes a couple of times for you to be humbled by the fact that you'd say something that's never happened and then it happens. You know, so you learn very early in this particular business that the word never is probably not something that should be part of your vocabulary. You may use the word rarely, unusual. Okay, that's that might be a little more appropriate, but never say no. Okay. So anyway, watches and warnings tonight are all over the South. So if in comparison, the weather tonight is far worse across parts of the South and the Southern Plains, and there are a slew of watches and warnings of all kinds that are up at this moment, from northeastern New Mexico across northwest Texas, and then east from there through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi, a few counties in Tennessee, the northern part of Alabama and northern Georgia. We've got either tornado watches or severe thunderstorm watches. In that mix, too, are flash flood watches that are up for much of northeast Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas, northwest Louisiana, southern Missouri, southeastern Kansas. The dark reds you see are counties that are currently under flash flood warnings. I mean, it's just been round after round of heavy thunderstorms, and some of them have been severe. And the radars are very, very busy. Not much in the way of watches and warnings anywhere else. It's pretty much quiet. It's all centered in this area, and it's going to be down here again tomorrow, uh, per the Storm Prediction Center and the Weather Prediction Center. And you can see the lightning strikes and the bands of storms that have formed. You've got these line segments that are running from northeast New Mexico all the way east into eastern Tennessee and northwest Georgia, and you can see the lightning strikes. And there's a cell that's not that far from me, so I may be in a position soon to start hearing some noise, but we'll see if that cell holds together. But all this cloud cover is still moving east-west. And you know that the old trough is still there over New England. I mean, it's kind of accessed more offshore now, near Nova Scotia, but it still has an arm that's extending back westward through upstate New York. In fact, there's a line of thunderstorms, a dying line of lightning strikes approaching northern Lake Huron, and then they just kind of disappear a bit as they move offshore and start to head across the lake. But there's still one more upper trough to get through, and that's why Joe mentioned earlier about the fact that you may see instability and clouds develop tomorrow, and maybe north of Route 84, there might be a couple of scattered showers.
Right. Like I said, tomorrow will be indeed probably the best day of the lot so far as if you include Friday, Getaway Friday as part of your holiday weekend, but it's not going to be great. I still think that there's going to be, and if you remember, Joe, I think it was maybe Wednesday or Thursday when we were looking ahead to Memorial Day Monday. We pointed out that on I'm not sure if it was the GFS or the European,
It
they
was
actually
European.
they actually had at 18Z or 2 o'clock a couple of showers being indicated across portions of the lower Hudson Valley. And I said then, I said, gee, if it's supposed to be such a glorious weekend, and I did see not a few forecasts say, well, take what you will, Monday is going to be mostly sunny or lots of sunshine. You're really going to make up for all that. And I really didn't think that that was going to be the case. From what I've seen and what I continue to see, tomorrow will not be a terrible day, but it's not going to be a super day. And again, if you want sunshine, I'd say get out of there in the first half of the day, because once we get into the afternoon, we'll see a lot of those billowing cumulus clouds, which may, as Joe just mentioned again, may lead to a shower or sprinkle over northern and western sections, especially up north and west of I-84. I even had, Joe, here in Putnam County, around 3:30 or 4 o'clock. I even had a couple of sprinkles on my windshield, and so I said, darn, we can't get through an entire day without even the slightest little bit of precipitation. It may very well be that again tomorrow. And as we look ahead, and we will in the coming minutes, it looks like Tuesday may be dry, albeit somewhat cloudy, and then we could very well see showers Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday. And in fact, Saturday, by next weekend, we may even have to deal with some convection, some thunderstorms too. So it seems like we're in a kind of a wet weather pattern, not a horribly or terribly wet weather pattern, but still some wetness to deal with on almost a daily basis.
The wide radar shot before Joe takes us on some locals. The wide radar shot does have showers again in parts of upstate New York, and in fact, there are even some echoes showing up, a little bit of a popcorny type, I guess, in eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, the lower Hudson Valley into southwest Connecticut and over eastern Long Island. I don't know how much of that is reaching the ground or if it's just maybe a few spits of rain, but a little maybe perhaps when you go further north into upstate New York, you see something that's a little more problematic. But again, it's that this upper trough, this east-west trough, that is just still there, and it's going to take another day before it gets out of the way. Meanwhile, you see how loaded things are. First of all, I just want to point out, we've got showers and storms off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina, um, and in Florida, we're seeing it just inland of the coast, except in Northeast Florida, where there's a little concentration there of some downpours. But you go further south in the state, you see a lot of the inland areas. Looks like some showers and storms northeast of Orlando, another area that's down in southern Florida. And then you get into the mess that's further west. And here's the area that I was talking about with respect to me. So, right in here is an area of showers and storms, and there are a few those yellow and red boxes that show up. The red boxes are small tornado warnings, quote unquote small, and a general severe thunderstorm warning. I am just to the east of that. I'm probably 2 counties away. So, again, we'll see if it holds together as it moves further east. But then you go west, and you got a load of severe thunderstorm warnings and flash flood warnings going on from northern Louisiana, northern Mississippi into Arkansas, and then back through Texas and Oklahoma. Also very busy, starting to see storms firing up in northeast New Mexico. And as of 7:50 Eastern time on this Sunday night, we have 32 severe thunderstorm warnings that are up at the moment. And this is a per Tornado HQ. Five in Arkansas, one in Georgia, nine in Mississippi, two in New Mexico, five in Oklahoma, one in Tennessee, and 12 in the state of Texas. So we got
They're
the.
active.
Are you ready to go on the radars?
Yes. Are you? Do you give me sharing capabilities or?
Yes, and I can tell you right now, I'm just beginning to hear some thunder.
Okay. Well, I still
Just
don't have share capabilities.
I understand that, but I'm getting to it. Now you have share capabilities.
Oh, thank you. Well, it works then.
These last minute technical decisions.
Yes. All right. So before we get into the really active area, let's just quickly start off and show you here in the Northeast. This is the Albany radar. Joe mentioned the upper trough, and you could see that there's quite a bit of shower activity, especially north of Albany, up along the north way of Interstate 87, and north and west of there. You can see some significant shower activity, literally breaking out right before your eyes, and also heading southbound. But I don't think that they'll make it all the way south to the immediate New York City metropolitan area. However, we do have a few showers and sprinkles, and you can see them down here over portions of Dutchess County and Putnam County and portions of Orange County as well. And all of this activity, again, affiliated with that upper trough. As we get into the evening and as the air cools, I suspect a lot of this will dissipate or diminish, and we may actually later tonight in the after midnight hours see partly cloudy to even clear skies for a while. So not so great looking now, better as we move into the latter part of the night. And that should kick off tomorrow on a bright note, a sunny note, as I said, although I really don't think we'll be able to hold on to that for all of the day tomorrow. So that's what's going on up in the Northeast and New York. Now let's check out places that are seeing some rather active weather. This is not, I don't want the Campbell, Kentucky. I want to see. Let me just go here to. There we go. This is Nashville or Old Hickory, Tennessee, and Joe just mentioned about a threat to where he is in northern Georgia, and you can see where the threat is coming from. The radar from Nashville starts off with precipitation right over the radar site, but quickly moves to the east, and you can see the areas of orange and especially red, which could indicate severe weather, and that line moving across the northernmost portion of Georgia probably is what is going to affect or infiltrate where Joe is in the next hour or so. Here is Atlanta, Georgia, Peachtree City. Joe, you live right about up here, right, where the cursor is?
Hold on, let me see where you got the cursor. Where do you have the cursor? I can't see it.
Right. like in the northeastern part
A,
of,
a little bit west of there and a little bit
okay,
south.
all right. So you can see that this line, this rather active line of weather, is moving through northern Georgia. It looks like it's weakening a little bit, but it is still holding together to a degree and moving quick enough so that, again, Mr. Chaffee will probably be experiencing some thunder and lightning activity, I think, over the course of the next 30 to 60 minutes. But you see that that's the line that's affiliated with the stuff that was moving through Tennessee on the earlier radar. And in fact, speaking of Tennessee, that's not the only area that is affecting Tennessee. We also have a second area. Here's area number one. Here's number two moving across western Tennessee. And there's a little bit of a flare up down here. And that, again, moving generally on a west to east pattern. Also up in Kentucky, they're seeing some precipitation also across extreme southern sections of Indiana. I was watching a little bit of the 500, the Indianapolis 500 earlier
Hmm.
today, and the skies were mainly cloudy, but there was no threat of any rainfall, no precipitation. It looks like the majority of that was passing off to the south, so that's good. It was a dry track. Let's show you off the Carolina coastline, and in fact, this is Newport, Morehead City, North Carolina. But let's go just a little bit further to the south. Let's say down to Charleston and Grays, and you can see that there is kind of a band of precipitation, heavy precipitation perhaps, but that is moving offshore. So the folks who live in South Carolina pretty much missing out now as all of this activity pushes out over the Atlantic Ocean. So no real problems. There are a few spotty areas, localized showers and possible thunderstorms across portions of southeastern Georgia. But even there, as you can see, this activity is beginning to diminish quickly. So this may not last too much longer. Let's go into Greenwood, Columbus Air Force Base. This you can see is the boundary between um, Mississippi and Alabama, and this activity over northern Mississippi looks fairly potent. Here's another area up here. That is the area that we were watching, the second area over Tennessee, moving out of Arkansas into western Tennessee. So you've got a pretty good line of showers and active storms here. You have another area down across portions of northern Mississippi, a third cluster that is over in central Mississippi. So you want active weather, go down to Mississippi, Mississippi, and you will get some significant, probably shower and storm activity down there. And, you know, the activity looks significant and potent enough, if not to produce possible damaging winds, maybe even a tornado or two down in this area here. So you see all the activity, again, mostly in the Southland, but again, there's also some scattered showers up in the Northeast due to instability over portions of upstate New York as well.
All right.
Anywhere else?
No, that I think that covers it. The Storm Prediction Center has been busy tonight. They've got an enhanced risk in Texas and Oklahoma. You can see the watch boxes in the reds and the blues in east-west fashion. That covers a very large area of slight risk from New Mexico all the way to Alabama. And again, we have that enhanced risk area. We also have inside that enhanced risk area a 5% tornado risk. And in the slight risk area in eastern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, and northwest Alabama, a 5% risk for tornadic activity. And back in Texas, there is a hatched area of 15 to 30% probability for hail 2 inches or more in diameter. So that's into tomorrow morning. Now, for the daytime Monday, it's all still there in about the same place, although the risk area is a little smaller and it's a little bit further to the south. But again, New Mexico to Georgia with a slight risk across central to northeast Texas, southwest Arkansas, and northwestern Louisiana, and a 2% tornado risk there. And day three, and day 3 is Tuesday into Wednesday. They've got the areas even further south. So the slight risk is more into southwest Texas and runs east along the Gulf coastal states through Georgia and into northern Florida. They also have for Tuesday into Wednesday an area of general thunderstorms indicated over Vermont, New Hampshire, and northeastern New York, which, I got to look at that a little bit closer. WPC for rainfall, 7-day rainfall amounts a half an inch or more in upstate New York and northern New England, a quarter of an inch everywhere else. And then they got the half-inch line at New York City, and it increases as you go south and west. And you're seeing inch and a half plus Southwest PA, Southern Virginia and North Carolina, back into Kentucky, and then you go further south. Now, a lot of this area that's across Texas and Oklahoma to Arkansas, that's on top of rainfall that they've had for several days now. So another anywhere from 2 to some areas of 4 to 5 inches in parts of central and east Texas and into Louisiana. And in all of this, because we're dealing with convection, it's always good to remember that sometimes this is, we're in that time of year now where some of these situations you get a thunderstorm that parks over a certain spot for a long period of time, and they wind up getting double what's been forecast in this general 7-day forecast map from WPC. Not much going on in the west, not much going on in the northern plains. So we are seeing a little bit of a pattern change this week to some degree. Trough off the west coast, trough off the east coast. There's that east-west arm this afternoon that extended from Nova Scotia back to Lake Michigan, and it kind of drags its way through, but there's still a little bit of a short wave hanging around on Monday. So that's why the mention for showers north and west of the coast. Meanwhile, there's a short wave that's evident from Texas and from Kansas, West Kansas down to Texas. And that's part of the reason why you're seeing all that area, all that shower and thunderstorm activity going on in the south. And another cutoff forms over Minnesota and strengthens and starts to push its way eastward. So this is going to bring showery rains that are in the south. Will eventually bring them north, probably around Wednesday, into the northeast and mid Atlantic states, and they'll last through Thursday and Friday. And then again, here we go again with another strengthening trough in the east Friday and into next weekend. So yeah, here's be another situation here where we've got cold, unstable air aloft, short waves rotating around an upper low in eastern Canada. So uh, might there still be some showers around for at least the first part of next weekend? Yeah, maybe even the second part. I don't know, but this is a very persistent pattern here of dropping troughs into the eastern part of the United States. And there's another one around the 2nd of June that comes into the northeast. And then after that, we get into a bit of a ridge position in the east. We'll see how long that holds because the European wants to make another trough toward the end of the forecast period. So, you play the cards that you're dealt with, folks. It's not something that you have a whole lot of choice. And the cards that we're being dealt here is one of a rather active pattern with a cool bias overall. So you can see these storms. First of all, for tomorrow, you can see that the European, again, mid-morning to mid-afternoon in parts of Vermont, Massachusetts, and in upstate New York, you see some of those showers, but they stay up there. And then, of course, all through the south is where you're getting these thunderstorms with severe weather risk, but then low pressure is going to come out. Now, this one's going to go to our west, up through Illinois and into Michigan. So there's going to be some sort of a warm front that comes through or will try to come through on Wednesday or Wednesday night. So there'll be some showers ahead of it with a bit of an onshore flow. And then on Thursday, you wait for the cold front to go by, and that may produce some showers or maybe even a thunderstorm or two. And then, of course, as I said, with an upper trough over the eastern part of the Northeast and New England, there's going to be these series of short waves. So we've got to put showers in the forecast for Friday, showers in the forecast for Saturday, and then even for Sunday, there's still some showers around. So,
And I suspect that next Saturday, the shower activity may be accompanied by perhaps a couple of thunder showers too, or a little
Yeah,
bit of convection. So,
yeah, and of course, as far as the rain and thunderstorms going on across the south, with all the with the flooding issues and everything else, I mean that kind of continues into two through Monday. You get a little bit of a break, but the southern end of that front gets a little active for the southeast Wednesday and Thursday. But then overall, though, a lot of the areas that have been getting severe weather for the last 3 or 4 days will see a little bit of a relaxation in that, and then it gets kind of quiet for a while. So we could only hope and pray. The no, the Hurricane Center on the Pacific side. Disorganized showers and thunderstorms continue along a broad trough of low pressure located 700 miles south of the coast of southern Mexico. The conditions appear favorable for additional development, and a tropical depression is expected to form in a few days while it generally moves west northwest at 90% chance that this will develop in the next 7 days. And in fact, if we take a look at the European, and the European's going to be my go-to model until the GFS kind of settles down because it's just been really so squirrely. But you can see what the European does with this, and it finally does eventually close off a low on Wednesday off the coast of Mexico, and kind of drifts it westward and then turns it northward, but doesn't really do much with it. It actually weakens it considerably, uh, and that's not unusual because the ocean water temperatures. You don't have to go that far north in the Pacific for this time of year for ocean water temperatures to be very cool. And maybe this winds up getting to be a low end tropical storm before it eventually does the usual Pacific Ocean tropical storm dissipation game. The other thing I want to point out, I just want to see if on this run, there have been a few runs of the European come late next week and next weekend, and I want to just take a closer look here where it tries to, there's something in the Caribbean that it tries to bring up. You can see there's a lot of showers there. There's some sort of wave or an inverted trough of some kind that comes out of the Northwest Caribbean and moves up into the Eastern Gulf. There were one or two runs over the last couple of days where it actually closed off a surface low and made you think there was a tropical storm there. And the GFS actually, did something similar. If something's going to develop this time of year, it's usually going to be in the Northwest Caribbean. So we'll see where the models go with this in the coming days. Shall we look to see if the GFS has a Category 5 hurricane there or not?
well, I don't know about that. We've been talking about how badly the GFS has been doing over recent weeks. So one would have to wonder, especially if it's beyond 3 or 4 days, any kind of tropical activity or tropical cyclone that it seemingly is churning up out of nowhere while the other models are showing nothing. So we'll
Yeah,
see
the
how this.
GFS does have something there a week from now. Well, it tries to make some kind of low and over southern, or just off the Florida coast there, and then kind of waddles it to the southeast coast. But it's all coming out of that complex that's there in the Northwest Caribbean. So, again, it's in the who knows category so far down the road anyway. And the other thing is that the GFS, at least, was trying to show that maybe there will be another nor'easter, type situation with this next thing, and it's still kind of trying to do that. It's got a low that goes up into Kentucky rather than going up into the lower lakes like the European has, but it has a low that goes to Kentucky, and then suddenly it's off the Delaware coast again and moves out to the east, and it's followed up by another low behind it for Friday and Saturday with what seems to be a good amount of rain, if this is correct. Uh, the Europeans in a whole different place, and given the GFS's uh, just, I guess, horrific is probably the best word to describe it. It's horrific performance lately when compared to the European. It seems to me that it's just best to stick with the model that's working, and right now it's the Euro.
Okay. Well, I would agree with you. I mean, all things considered, considered how the GFS hasn't been doing all that good lately, I would prefer to look at the euro as opposed to the GFS for especially any forecast that might go beyond 3, 4, 5 days. So we'll see.
All right, so with Memorial Day tomorrow, Roller Jeopardy tonight centers on Memorial Day. So let's see if how we do with these. The highest temperature ever reported on a Memorial Day.
On Memorial Day, because I
Yes.
know that yesterday was the 50th anniversary of a record high temperature of 93 in New York. However, I do know that, and this I think is the infamous day that you sometimes make reference to by the guys, the old timers at the National Weather Service, of 99.
No, well, that 99 was the record high. You just said it was 93.
What, yesterday?
Yeah, you said the record high yesterday was 93.
It was until I guess it was broken by the 99, right? I remember the 93-degree day very well.
Yeah.
50 years ago, I remember it was a Saturday and it was swelteringly hot, and it got up to 93. Incidentally, later that night we had a cold front come by, a backdoor front with thunderstorms and a sharp change in the wind to northeast. And the very next day, the day after we hit 93, the temperature at Central Park couldn't get much out of the 50s, mid 50s. So, hey, it happens.
Well, but what about Memorial Day? And remember, Memorial Day is a bit of a movable day because it's moved to
Right.
uh,
Well, I mean,
the fourth
Memorial
Monday
Day,
of the month.
we used to celebrate Memorial Day before it became a Monday holiday. Memorial Day was May 30th, and I seem to uh, I seem to remember in 1969 it was very hot on May 30th, which was then Memorial Day. I'm not sure if it was the hottest. I think it was something like 95 degrees or whatever. So,
Yeah, the chat board folks, you're all too high. You're all too high. Steve Lapointe at 88 is actually closer. Okay, but he's too low. Frank Scalera, 93. There it is. Frank Scalera, Joe, is the bell ringer for tonight. 93.
and what year?
1942.
Okay, so then that was May 30th.
The coldest daytime high on Memorial Day. The coldest
50.
daytime high.
Um, I'll say something. I mean, we've seen ridiculously low temperatures so far. I'll say I'll say 56.
You should have went. Oh, it should have went a little lower. And Joe Gaffney, you should have went a little higher with 54, which tells us that the lowest high on Memorial Day was
Double
double
nickels.
nickels, 55. 55. What was the coldest overnight low for Memorial Day?
Oh God. Ah, well, it had to be one of those unusually clear, cool um, nights. I would say 37.
That's a little too cool. A little too cool. Steve Lapointe gets it. You can ring the bell for Steve Lapointe, 42.
There you go, Steve.
Okay, I'm trying to beat this thunderstorm because it's getting closer, and I heard the light flashed already in here. What was the
Uh-oh.
what was the most rain to fall on Memorial Day?
Oh God. 1.5 inches.
Uh, it's actually was much more than that. Steve Lapointe's very close, 2.47. I'll give that as a win. Nobody's going to get that exactly. 2.47. The answer is actually 2.49 in 1948. 1948. And by the way, the Memorial Day low of 42 was set back in 1884, Joe. Now, the bonus is what was the warmest 3 day Memorial Day holiday weekend? The whole weekend. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. What was the warmest of three of the warmest the whole weekend?
I'll say Memorial Day weekend 1970.
No. We're looking for a year here, by the way. Um, so all 3 days in this Memorial Day holiday weekend, the highs were in the upper 80s. And Anthony, oh, give Anthony a bell ring because he got it. 1999.
Oh, 1999. 99.
1999. All
1999.
3 days.
July of 99, Joe. I think we had like 20 days in
Yeah,
July
it
of
was
99
brutal.
was extremely hot,
Yeah.
and like 4 days and like at 100 or whatever. I
Yeah, the
remember that very
summers in
well.
the 90s for the most part were brutally hot. There were a few brutally hot summers with lots of 90-degree days.
Right.
That's when I finally gave in and got myself an obnoxiously large swimming pool, as I used to call it. So anyway, all right, I think we're done here. Anything you'd like to add before my world
Uh,
comes to an end?
just the people on the chat board earlier were saying I'm going to be glued to the Nick game tonight. I have not the slightest interest in the Nick game. If anything, I'll watch the reruns of All in the Family on Me TV. So you can see how my evening of television is going to be for viewing tonight. And maybe I'll look at the I'll check in on the Mets. They're on
All right,
ESPN.
all right. I watched a little of the Indy 500 earlier today. Otherwise, I really wasn't watching too much television. I had some friends over for dinner, and everything came out perfect. I made um, I made hot dogs. I don't have a grill because I decided I didn't want to have a grill. It's just another thing for me to clean, and I'm admittedly not good at staying on top of it. And if you've got a grill, you got to stay on top of it and clean it. But I made hot dogs. What I did was I wrapped the hot dogs in pizza in I thinly rolled out pizza dough patties. I rolled the hot dogs in them like pigs in a blanket, and I fried them, and they were great. I got rave reviews over that. So it was sort of an Italian pigs in a blanket, but they were really, really good. So anyway, that's it. So remember, folks, we're here tomorrow night. We're not going to be here Tuesday. We'll remind you again tomorrow. So we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:35. It's pouring rain out. So before I lose my power, I bid you adieu. And by the way, that is my dog that was on the bed. I don't have a cat. I have a dog. And he's now off the bed because he discovered he was being watched. So he went someplace else. See you tomorrow.
Good night, folks.